Hey, Keira.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm still on a little bit of a high, which is a good thing. How are you doing? You in North Carolina now?
Yes, so we're close to each other,
Yeah,
kind
we're
of.
not too far. How are you liking it?
We love it. I mean, it's an adjustment because we are, I have to make new friends and it's hard to do at this stage of life, but the kids have all found great friends in our neighborhood and it's going to be good for us. It's just going to take time because our network of people isn't here.
Yeah. Hold on. So you're telling me you can have friends outside of your kids? That's possible to have relationships? I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know if you have time for that when you run 100 miles a week and you have a full-time job and two kids, but
Yeah, I'm a pretty bad friend right now, but my friends, they all understand too. So I forget a lot of birthdays, I miss a lot of events, but they understand. So, but
listen, I just bought a new calendar and I made it my goal for 2022 to write down the friend birthdays, the cousin birthdays, all the birthdays in the calendar so I at least remember to send a text.
oh, that's good. That's really good. Hi everyone, it's
Um,
guys out there. Hi.
yeah,
Oh,
Keira, I want to give a shout out to your mother-in-law. She messaged me that she would be here and she was excited for the conversation. I love her.
Yaya is awesome. She is always here. She's just up for whatever. So I can start asking her a question, be like, hey, what do you think about if we went? She's like, I'm in. I'm like, I haven't even finished the question. She's like, I'm in. You tell me something. I'm gonna be there.
You don't even know what we're gonna do. Oh my goodness. Well, for everybody joining, if you're here from Keira's page, I'm Lindsay and I host the podcast I'll Have Another with Lindsay Hine. And Keira has been on the show several times. Way back in January 2020 when she just ran that 234 in Berlin. And man, to see what you have done, Keira, over these past 2 years is completely insane and completely incredible.
Yeah, it's been really wild. And I think for me, coming back, that I was a competitive elite athlete back in college and post collegiately. And then I took a lot of time off where I was still kind of running for fun, just not competitively, but just running because I loved it. And then coming back and having two kids, I think that I improved a lot over a short time because I was building back up endurance wise. I was losing weight, having two kids, and just starting to get back into running. So it's a pretty, like, when I look back and look at it, all I accomplished in a few years, it's pretty.
You're cutting out a little bit.
Oh
Can you hear
shoot,
me?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me
Okay.
okay?
Yeah. Is your Wi-Fi okay? Or are you on Wi-Fi or are you on like?
I am on Wi-Fi. Yeah, I have really terrible cell service right here, but I wonder if maybe if I put some other stuff not on Wi-Fi.
Or yeah, I was gonna say, or go off Wi-Fi for like the 30 minutes maybe.
Okay.
Eat your data for me, Keira.
I know. Okay. I have really bad.
You are on for me. Are we back? Technical difficulties, friends. Hold on, everybody. We'll get there. Keira. Oh,
I
there
think
you
it got
are.
worse.
There
Yeah,
you
I think
are.
it got worse.
Okay. Well, we'll roll with it how it is then. Sorry about that, everybody. My idea was not the greatest. Yeah, yeah. So I wonder, maybe we should talk about that, like taking all that time off and then coming back at this and really hitting it hard for like, well, really more than those 2 years, but like once you ran the 234 in Berlin, like really hitting it hard. Like, do you feel like you had less pressure on you because it was just you were new to the elite scene at this point in your life?
Absolutely. And I didn't come back to do this, right? Like I had really small steps, like, you know, I took really small steps to get here. And it was honestly never my goal to come back and run and set the American record. Like if you would have told me at the beginning of this journey, that's where I was headed, I wouldn't have even started because that just was way too intimidating. But coming back and just wanting to run to lose weight and then wanting to run for a little control and a little mental sanity reason, and then to like run a marathon. And it's just, I kept getting to the next goal, and I get a goal and just say, what's next? You know, and then if, well, what if I do this and let's try. And I just kept on, it just snowballed to the point where I am now.
Yeah, you know, I remember when I interviewed you after the marathon project when you ran the 220 high 222, and I kind of said like I had no idea that was in you. Who did know that was in you?
Mm-hmm.
And you said you felt like you had this secret, like you knew what you were capable of all along, but how would any of us have known? But you knew that like steady progression was in you. Where do you
Yeah,
think that self-belief came from?
I think it comes from my workouts, and I work with Scott Rasco as my coach, and he's just such an amazing coach. And he has a perfect combination of workouts that I think intimidate me mentally, but I'm so capable of completing physically that I leave so many workouts thinking, I can't believe I did that, you know, like, and it starts out slow and gets faster. So I think a lot of my confidence comes from my workouts, but I think also there was like a period of a couple years where I feel like I raced like under my potential. So when I ran Berlin and ran 234, I thought maybe on a good day I'd be in like the very low 230, so 230 to 232. And then at the Olympic trial, 234 as well. And I thought I was in sub 230 shape then. So I think if that was a flat course and things went a little bit better for me, I wouldn't have been that surprised if I ran 226, 228. But the course just kind of got the best of me, and it just completely dominated me that day. Um, and even at the marathon project, like I ran 222 high and I left that feeling. I think I could have gone out a little faster. I think I didn't quite maximize my potential. Now, I don't think I could have mentally wrapped my head around going any faster that day. So I think I needed that race as a stepping stool to get to where I am now. But going into Houston a couple weeks ago, I had a lot of confidence thinking, well, a year ago, I was in 222 shape and I felt like I could run faster than that. And I'm in so much better shape now that I definitely should be able to do this, you know. I think that's I don't know. I think a kind of a trick of mine, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, but whether a race goes great or it doesn't, I don't let that race confirm what kind of shape I'm in, right? So like at, you know, at the trials, I ran 234, but I left the trials, you know, myself, like I have no race to prove that. I have no time that put a stamp on saying, yes, I proved it. But I just knew from my training and how things were going, that was like in my wheelhouse. I think just kind of, I don't know if that's ego or confidence, but just being able to say, like, you know what, that one race doesn't define shape. I know what kind of shape I'm in, and now I'm going to aim for higher than that.
I love that. That is like so incredible. I think that if we all took that mindset, because in fact, like if you knew you were in that shape, but it just didn't happen on the race, like that training cycle, that is in your body and that
Absolutely.
is in your bank for your next marathon cycle.
Absolutely. And I think like I kind of like quote unquote underperformed according to like my goals, and I came up short of my goals in those races so many times that I almost figured out like what not to do, right? And
Mm,
so races where I felt like I didn't quite nail it, I was learning, you know.
mm.
And you know, when you come up short from a goal, it causes you to like really reflect a little bit more, and you're a little bit down, but you learn a whole lot more. So I've just, you know, I learned a lot. You know, I came up short a lot and I learned a lot, and it finally came together in a really beautiful way for me.
You know, I read some of your post race interviews, and you kind of talked about how when you put your mind to like running your fastest and running that 5:18 pace rather than obsessing over I can break the American record, it like kind of freed you to go do that. How important do you think that was for the success?
I think framing your goals in a manageable way is like 100% important. I think being able to wrap your head around like internally what you think you can do is just so important. Because I mean, a couple weeks before the marathon, I was talking to like, I realized that 5:18 equals an American record, right? But I try to completely detach it. And I was talking to my husband and I was like, how do I wrap my head around like that I think I can be the fastest one ever? Like, and he's, you won't and you can't. So don't think about that. Just, do you think you can run 5:18? I'm like, well, yeah, I know I can run 5:18. But then he's like, don't even, but just like focus on what you know, what you can control. And, you know, and even going into the race, the things that I controlled, I felt like really well. And there was a lot of things out of my control. I was like, you know what? It's either the chips are gonna fall in my favor or they're not. The stars are gonna align a little bit or they're not, you know. But I know I've done like what I could to get here. So I'm gonna just focus on that. So I don't know. I think that really helped me with like the is just kind of separating the two, like external and internal goals, I guess.
Anthony, just the best, isn't he?
He's a good, he's somewhere in the house right now. Call him up.
I mean, how about you giving him some love on the Today Show?
That was really, really cool. And it's funny because I had like a little run through with the producer the night before, and I was like, hey, my husband's birthday's tomorrow. I've been a little distracted. I don't have something awesome planned. So you guys could really get me out of the doghouse by letting me do a little shout out. So they wrote it in. They're like, yeah, I think we'll have time. And I'm like, well, do you think or do you know? Like, and so that's why I had that sign there, like just in case they're like, oh, that's all for Keira. I was gonna be like, hey, and happy birthday, you know. So like I had like a fail-safe plan. But knowing that they might give me the opportunity, I was telling Anthony, I'm like, hey, I'm really nervous for this one. He's like, you are? Can you please like just come sit up next to me? Just be there. Just because I knew if I got that opportunity, it'd be so fun to pull him in. So he was a little surprised. He wished I would have given him the heads up. He's like, man, I would have brushed my hair. I would have a little more presentable, but he looked so cute. He did awesome.
That is so good. I mean, I love Hoda and Savannah. That I was so happy. I love that they framed it as marathon mom too. I love this. Made me laugh.
I know, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, look, I'm watching downstairs with Tommy.
I saw that. Yeah. Hi, Tommy.
Tony. Yeah.
Shout out to Tommy. I also loved Tommy's post-race interview. I forget who the interviewer was, but like on race day, he was so freaking cute.
Oh man, I'm gonna like start crying just thinking about that, because like just finishing and seeing my kids like with their signs, like their homemade signs, and you know, I talked to my mom afterwards, and when they were making the signs, like she didn't instruct them at all. They just wrote what they wanted, and just like, I don't know, I think it's really like Tommy's sign. Quinn's was awesome too, but Tommy's sign, just like, you're number one in my heart. I just feel like show so much that it's like he doesn't really care how I run or not. And I think that's really freeing, that my family will support me, whether, you know, I'm trying to complete a marathon or try to win a marathon or whatever that goal is. That just like knowing that like when I come home, I'm just mom that makes some dinner. You know, it's just, that takes a lot. That I don't know, just helps keep it grounded, I guess.
I can totally see that. I think no matter what, like, struggle or hard thing you're trying to commit yourself to, like if you bring yourself back to your kids, I think it's so grounding, because being a kid is like the most freeing experience you're ever going to have in life, right? Somebody is dying to know what watch you use to run, and they've asked 3 times, so let's just answer that now.
Okay, I ran in the Garmin 935, the Forerunner. I really like that. I'm not sponsored. I don't have like a watch. I haven't tried all the watches, so I would definitely be open to trying ones. But I like that the Garmin gives you kind of that mile split. Like so if you're out for a run and then you want to the next mile, even if you're in the middle of the mile, you can press the lap, give you the mile split. I don't know. It's just a feature I really like on that. But yeah, I ran in the Garmin, but open to try other watches.
Shout out to Koros if you want to hit Keira up. Hey, so you had 2 pacers, Callum and Silas, and I'm curious with using the pacers. Well, marathon PR for Callum. Did that make you nervous at all when you reached out to him, knowing that would be a marathon PR to him? And talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, I don't know why Callum is such a solid person. He just seems like he has it all under control, and he's very genuine and very straightforward. And, you know, for me, it was also like none of us have been there, you know, so we didn't really know how anyone was going to react to that pace that late in. And yeah, I don't know. He just is so smooth. And the fact that he's done all these ultras too, and I don't know. I don't know. I just felt really confident in that he lives right outside of Houston. He's done that course. I mean, so many times. He says he knows every pebble. He knew all the tangents. So that like brought me a lot of like confidence with him. Yeah, he's also just like a really good person. So I think maybe like 2 weeks before the race, I checked in with him being, hey, because we never talked about pace. I was like in December, I was like, hey, you want to pace me? And he's like, I'm in. And then we get deeper than that, you know? So a couple weeks before, I was like, okay, I think it's gonna be 5:18. How do you feel about that? Like, great. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And then my other pacer, Felix, so he used to live in Virginia. We used to do some workouts together. He moved to California, which really broke my heart, but I'm so happy for my girlfriend Emily because they are doing so great out there and they love it out there. But secretly, I think I was hoping they came back so we could all run together again. But he had never even done a marathon.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, first marathon. And I think he did like a 20 some mile run in his training. But I never worry about him either because he's just this like, I don't know, I show up with whatever workout and he's so on the money and so smooth that like, I don't know, he's just such a intuitive runner. I don't even know how else to put it. So I really have a lot of trust in him too. So I was just like, yeah, the three amigos, we got this.
I love it. So did you like tell us how often you look down at your watch? I mean, you had to be so focused.
I think maybe towards the end I looked down a couple
Okay.
times, but I don't know, like I've done a lot of tempo work in the low 5 teens. So I thought running 5:18 that day and just locking in was going to feel like pretty locked in. And I never quite felt like that comfortable. So I didn't want the feedback from the watch because I was worried like if I looked at the watch and it was a little bit slow, would I panic because I wasn't feeling great and then think, well, if I'm already running slow, it doesn't feel good. Or if I was going fast, but I think, oh my gosh, I need to slow down. Like I can't go this fast. I was like, you know what? The Pacers know what they're doing. They're carrying the mental burden, which is huge and weighs a lot. So I'm so thankful I didn't have to deal with that. But I'm like, I just don't think any sort of feedback is going to help. So I just focused on like, when's the next water stop? That's like how I get through. Like my secret trick in running marathons, when I start feeling a little negative, like when the voices start turning negative, I'm like, get something to eat or drink.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on that. And I don't know if it's focusing on like the nutrition or actually putting something in your body kind of gives you that little pick me up and that peppy feeling. So I was just going like water stop to water stop was what I was focusing on.
Yeah, something to look forward to is always helpful.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have to hear about Deena calling you. The great Deena Kastor. Keira broke her American record from 2006 in London. This is a huge deal, Keira. Like, you know, I mean, so many women have been marathoning for years professionally, and here you come in and in 2 years, and it's just like this incredible self-belief, these performances you've been putting out for these past couple years. Like, what does this mean to you and how does it feel? And tell us about the call with Deena.
Yeah. So the call right after the race, my agent Ray Flynn was like, hey, Deena's on the line. And like that, I couldn't wrap my head around. Like everything about, like, I knew I could run that time, but like everything that happened after I crossed the line, I couldn't wrap my head around any of it because I just couldn't believe that like it all came together. So when he said that, like I have looked up to Deena for so long. Like she is just, I have like her book. I like met her and she signed it. Like I I work on the Credit Union Cherry Blossom 10 Mile Committee, as you know, and she was one of our speakers one year. So I like stepped up. I'm like, I'll be her handler. So I picked her up from the airport and dropped her up at the hotel and picked her up and brought her to the expo. And that was just like so cool to like meet her. And I was just, you know, trying not to be like too like fangirly, I guess, and ask too many. But I just wanted to like, ask everything and just like, I don't know, maybe through osmosis, just like learn from her. And she was so down to earth and grounded and family oriented and just loves running. And it was, I don't know, I felt similar to her, you know? So I don't know, like, and I don't know. I just really enjoyed meeting her. So yeah, afterwards she calls. She said, you know, back in, because she broke it from Joan Benoit Samuelson in 2003, maybe. So when she broke it, Joan called her and said, congratulations, I'm officially patching the torch onto you. So she said, you know, Joan called me when I broke the record, and now you say, you know, congratulations, like you're officially carrying the torch. And I mean, from Joan to Deena to me, like that just doesn't make too much. Like, you're young, but like, it was a really special call, and that was really, really sweet.
I mean, yeah, you're going to make me cry. I mean, looking at that list of names, I mean, it's like when you look at marathon history in our country, that's your name. You're up there with Deena and Joni. I mean, it's pretty freaking cool. What does it mean to you?
It means the world. Like, and I don't understand it, I guess. The first thing, I don't understand it. Like, but to be in the same sentence with Joan and Deena, it's mind boggling. I can't, I mean, especially like the women in like Joan's generation, like set the path, and they paved the way for women to be able to compete at this level today, right? Like, women weren't all allowed into race. They didn't think women's bodies could handle it, you know? So it's like it's taken generations of female runners to get to the point of equality here today. And it's really cool to be up there with such legendary women.
Well, you deserve it. You did it. You worked for that. Um, Talk to me about what this means for you as a mom. Like, what do you most hope your kids see when they see all this? Not just mom competing in marathons, because anybody's kids watching them run a marathon, that's amazing. Like, it is so cool that your kids get to experience that. But what does it mean to you to be the American record holder? And like, what do you want your kids to take from that?
You know, like, I think that title, I mean, what I would want my kids to take from just seeing me running is just to have the courage to find a passion in something that they love. And I don't even care what that is, but just for them to find out what they love, and then having the courage to set like crazy goals, and then knowing what to do with that. You know, you set the goal and then you work your butt off to achieve it, you know? So I just like, I mean, just my number one wish is just like happiness and health. And if they can find something that makes them happy, running makes me, I think I'm doing a pretty good job then. A decent job. We'll call it a decent
Yes, that's so, I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. You know, we talked way back in the day, and you talked about when you started like really getting after it and training hard again, trying to balance like motherhood, working, and also back in the day, Anthony was gone because he was traveling in the military, right? So
right.
you said that your coach said, find a way. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, that became your motto, like, find a way, make it work. So, what's your advice to someone who, like, has a big, scary goal, but, like, is busy? We're all busy, right? Everybody's got a to do list, but you really want to hit this goal. What's your advice?
I think because goals sometimes, I think, especially for parents, there's guilt around that, right? Especially
Totally.
goals with running, like it feels selfish, right? So I think number one is accepting that it's okay to have a little, like a goal for yourself or something that feels like a little selfish, you know, like within reason, right? And then finding how, you know, just that marriage of, you know, squeezing it in when like no one notices, and then asking for help, you know. So I try to get a lot of my runs in, like I get the kids on the bus and then I try to get out, but there's a lot of mornings where it's way too hot and I can't work out then, so I have to, you know, then all the family kind of switches around their schedule. So I think it's just I don't know, kind of being a little stubborn with that too, and that you really deserve that, you know, like it's okay just to make that space and create that time. And it's okay to ask for help, you know, like I have a huge support system. Like I wouldn't be here without Team D'Amato. And even when my goal was just, sorry, excuse me, when my goal was just to finish a race or, you know, just put in some time, or I wanted, my goal today is to run an hour. That, you know, that's my only goal. Even moving forward, like I asked for help with that. And I think it was really awesome to see people like step up and want to help. And even when my husband was gone, like, you know, my parents and my mother and father-in-law would come over a lot, watch the kids, or hire a babysitter on the street, you know, and I'd pay her whatever I needed to get out for an hour or two. And it felt like I was, you know, frivolously spending money on something that I didn't need. You know, it's hard to justify that first, but then I did it a couple times and it just felt so good. And just giving that like little space to myself. So I don't know. It's just, it's finding a balance with your family, not being afraid to ask for help, you know. I don't know.
That, yeah, that was also a resounding theme from our first episode we recorded was getting over the guilt of asking for help, because the time passes. Like your kids aren't little forever. You won't need that kind of help forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good, Keira. So how are you continuing to manage right now? Like you obviously, oh, mileage though. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off Chicago, we knew Chicago, you were coming back off an injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a great race, placed fourth, but obviously we knew there was more in the
Right.
cooker there with you. Talk to us about how you managed your mileage from Chicago to Houston. It seemed like, based on Strava and people in my Facebook group saying that you were relatively lower mileage going into Houston for running so fast. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that for me, mileage, how do I explain this? That it's never like that's not the indicator of how well training's going for me, right? And I think coming back, there's been times like before the Olympic trials for the marathon, I was running between 100 and 130, and that I was managing it great. I was putting the work. I built this huge base, which I think really propelled me through a really great 2020. But I didn't have that base like from Chicago and into Houston, so I couldn't just add on the miles. Like you know, I was doing a lot of PT, I was doing a lot of Pilates, I was adding a lot of like non-mileage work to prevent further injury, to strengthen. And I think that that doesn't really go into that mileage number, but I've never worked so hard in my life on all those small things. And they were super time consuming to do that. So, and then I think building up without that huge base, you know, the 10% rule that you can't build up that much. So we were definitely constrained a little bit with mileage, but what we lacked in mileage and volume, we made up with intensity. So my workouts became even harder. The paces became even faster. Even my recovery days, because I wasn't doing as many miles, were just faster. We're just naturally because my legs weren't so dead. So that it really opened my eyes to like there's not one way up and down. You know, some people really like that high mileage, and other people don't need it. And sometimes you build a huge base, and you can back off a little bit on mileage. And you know, towards the end, going into Houston, like we knew if things went well, I would hit that. And naturally, sometimes people want to keep on adding, keep on doing more, keep, you know, it's like a nervous thing. And for me, I feel good with where I am. I need to just like maintain. I need to stay healthy, no injuries. So I'm really focused on all things and making sure that I stayed healthy, injury free, and that I just gave myself a chance to race and got to the starting line healthy. But yeah, I think I was averaging, maybe I got into the high 80s, but I'd kind of rotate between, I think in the 70s to high 80s from Chicago to Houston.
I mean, that's really pretty cool to hear, honestly. You just don't hear too many pro marathoners going much under 100 miles, it seems like. And I mean, I'm saying that to, you know, people running at the everyday level, like someone trying to break 3 hours. Like, you don't have to run 90 miles, 100-mile weeks to hit that goal. And And arguably all that extra work you were doing really matters more than those like 20 extra miles that you might be doing, because who wants to be injured?
Right. And I definitely like my long runs were there. You know, every week I was doing a long run that ranged anywhere from, I mean, at the beginning, maybe 16 or so miles, and I built up to, I think, 24 is the longest I
Okay.
did. My long tempos were there, and sometimes I'd even put that tempo. I think my last big workout, I put a 14-mile tempo to a 24-mile run. So like definitely those long runs, long tempos. But then, like we work really hard on my speed too. So usually it's like my Tuesday track day where I'm doing a lot of like below marathon pace, and I'm just working so hard to get like my baseline for like my mile, my 5K, my 10K pace down, so that marathon pace feels more relaxed. So I'm really like, I love how my trains me working on speed and strength at the same time, because it makes me a really dynamic runner, and I think it makes it on a little bit easier. And I don't think too many people are training that way. I think a lot of people come in from really high mileage, a lot of just really long runs. I think if you kind of alternate between working like speed, and I talk speed like mile, 5K, and kind of marathon training, I think that it makes you a dynamic runner.
Scott Roscoe, your coach, who's been your coach forever. How have you guys like grown and evolved together over these past few years?
It's been really great because he coached me right out of college, and I definitely needed different things out of a coach then, right? I think he was, he never really said like, this is how much you're running. He was very, you listen to your body. He'd give me ranges and I could fill in the gaps. But now even more so, he's seen me evolve, and like, I'm more conscious of my body and how I'm feeling. And he definitely takes that into account. Yeah, I see my mom right there saying Scott is so great. Hey mom.
Hey,
But
mom.
but then also I think he understands the demands that I have, and he respects that, right? I never feel like, he knows how hard I work towards running and how hard I prioritize it. But he also knows running is not the top for me, right? I have my family, and I also have real estate too, that now I feel like running and real estate are getting a little bit closer. But he understands that. So when I like, I have a run and like, man, I was up all night, the kids were sick, this and this and this, like he gets it. He's like, okay, shift it. Do,
Mm-hmm.
get some sleep, relax, let's do the workout tomorrow. But then there's like some days where I'm like, oh man, I stayed up late working. And he's like, did you need to? I'm like, no. And he's like, that one's on you. Okay. You got to learn to tune it back a little bit, and prioritize like how you're living your life and where you're putting your time. So he's a really good, but I do appreciate, because it's not easy. Like running is extremely important. I take it very seriously and I do everything I can, but like, life, so he definitely works with me there.
Hey, Alyssa in the comments wanted to know, the night before Houston, did your husband and kids sleep with you in your room, or did you go separate?
Oh, we went separate, man. So as I got to Houston, so I went out, I think on Thursday, they came out on Friday, and they got their own hotel room. And like leading into like a marathon, and I do feel guilty about this, but like, I mean, being a parent is just a little exhausting, even when you're not, just all like the moms and the requests and just caring for someone. And just so much of your mental energy goes like, are they dressed? Do they need to go to the bath? It's just like, you're always thinking about that. So it was nice for me just to be alone for a couple of days and just like refocus and recenter and just relax, be able to put my feet up. But then also like, there is a lot of guilt there. So like, I tell myself, if I'm isolating from my family, like I'm gonna rock this race. Like this isn't gonna be for nothing. So I feel like it's like a healthy amount of I don't know, guilt and then just relaxation. But yeah, they had their own. They were in party zone. This was like a whole vacation for the family. They were at a different hotel with like, the hotel had a lazy river in the shape of Texas, and so they had like the time of their lives. I do not feel bad for them. They loved it.
Living the dream. I'm curious your thoughts on the age thing. Like it's been a big, heavy focus, like you and Sarah Hall, like slaying these American records in your mid to late 30s. And I think about this a lot too. I'm a little bit older than you, but like some people like to say age is just a number, but I'm like, no, it's not. Your body gets older. Like, it's not just a number. So I'm just curious, like, your thoughts on it. Like, clearly we can, like, do amazing things in our late 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever. But we get older. Our bodies get older. What are your thoughts on this?
First off, I just think it's like the coolest thing in the world that Sarah and I, with like very similar stories of being mothers in our later 30s, broke those records in the same day. I think that is such a powerful message about limits, and that you just don't need to believe them. I don't know. Like, I think I still have so much room to improve. And I know that I feel like I'm scratching the surface of my potential. But I also know I need to make sure I'm sleeping more. I need to be doing all the recovery. So it's like, I think I know I can keep getting faster, but I also know that I'm going to have to work hard to stay healthy, to stay injury free. Like, I don't recover as quick as I did in my early 20s. But that's okay. That's fine. It's, I know, I kind of figure out my limits and can work with them. But I don't know. I also think like marathoning, like, it takes a while to get, and I mean, maybe other people pick up on it a little more quickly than me, but it's taken me a really long time just to learn the patience of training and racing for a marathon. And then just figuring out nutrition, like leading into it and the day of. And like a 5K, if you don't go right in a 5K, you could try again the next week and fine. But with marathons, you get maybe one every 6 months or so, like if you really want to nail it. So, but I don't know. I don't believe any of that stuff, and I don't know. I just think people have been wrong before about stuff. And where all the studies about like women peaking endurancely in their late 30s, I think that her and I are prime right now.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I totally agree with that. But I also agree with like the recovery is a little more intense as you get older, right? I think that's amazing. And I remember when I started this podcast, I feel like people talked about like once you're in your 30s, like you're starting to get older. But now it's like we're creeping up to 40s now and people are setting American records. It's so cool.
Yeah, I don't plan on slowing down. So,
No. What do you do now though, Keira? Because when you hit a big goal, have you ever done that?
yeah.
When you like
Yeah.
hit a big goal in your life though, and you're like, okay, now what? That's what they always talk about, like post-marathon blues and things like that. Where is your head and how do you stay grounded in this aftermath of celebration and owning this title and this new personal record too?
Yeah, I think for me, like I've always like I like having like goals along the way. So when I have like an end all be all goal, that puts so much pressure on one thing. So for me, like this marathon is a really big goal, but this isn't like the end of the line for me, right? I have goals like looking into this year all the way through 2024 and beyond. So I think just knowing that this is a stepping stone to where I'm going, this can go great or it cannot, and that's okay. I'm still going to keep along my journey. That it's kind of freeing. And I told people like on the starting line, I was thinking I'm either going to run 5:18 pace today or I'm not. And if I do, that's going to be awesome. And if I don't, I'm going to be in the exact same spot where I am right now. And I'm happy. I'm fine. Life is good. So I think that, I don't know. I think just looking forward. So immediately you finish and okay, great, check. We're on to the next thing, and you just keep moving forward. So I think just having those goals and everything just really I don't know, just keep moving.
Going into the 2020 trials, you knew you were way faster than anybody else probably knew, other than your coach probably and your husband and your close circle. Now going into 2024 trials, which isn't super soon, but kind of soon,
Mm-hmm.
you're like one of the names now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you
that,
weren't before. People didn't know. People didn't know what they didn't know. And
yeah,
you knew you had more in you than that 15th place at the trials in 2020.
yeah.
So how will that feel in your head going into it as one of the people?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to work on that because I really I got a lot of power from being like the underdog with something to prove, right? I loved like for like I loved being that unsponsored runner who just showed up and wrecked havoc, you know, and sometimes I did wreck havoc and sometimes I didn't, you know, but it was so freeing for me just to feel like I was sticking it to,
Mm.
I don't know who, just sticking it to the man, you know. And now it's been awesome partnering with Nike because I feel like they can springboard me like into newer and greater heights. I have this huge support team, which just makes things a little bit easier. But I don't know, I'm gonna have to reframe it because I always like going in trying to stick it to someone. So I'll have to figure out who I'm gonna try to stick it to in the trials. Is that weird? Is that a weird thing?
No, I totally get what you're saying in a different way. Like in my own life, I totally get it. It's like you have something that you want to prove to yourself, if nobody else. But yeah. And then we'll wrap up here. But what's it been like to receive? I'm sure like all of the women's marathoning community, all the ladies, they're all so supportive of one another. I'm sure they've all been reaching out to you and congratulating you. What's that been like?
That's been really, really sweet. And I think it says a lot about like the running community that we've created. But by the time I could check my phone, Molly Seidel had already Venmoed me $10 to go buy a beer because she's like, sorry, I'm not in Houston to do this for you, but here's buy yourself a beer. And I was like, that is just so sweet and thoughtful. And thank you. You know, it was I don't know, it's really cool. And I think it, you know, I think we can all like rise up together. You know, I think we're pushing like I think hopefully my Houston time just really open the gates and open the doors. And I think we're going to see a lot more women do that. Like, I think if I don't get that record again, I think someone else is going to take it from me pretty soon. And I think maybe I just showed people a path or showed people that it was possible. And maybe people are thinking, dang, if Keira can do that, I can do that, you know? And that's exciting to me to think that like the American running program is just going to continue to get faster and faster and faster. So when we show up to like the Olympics or World Championship meets, I just think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're on our way to getting there.
That's amazing. I love that. That's so awesome. Do you have world stages on your mind now?
World stages?
Yeah, like Olympics and
Oh
world
yeah,
championships.
of course, of
Yeah.
course. Like I know I got to get there first and qualify, and then but that would be, I would love that, just that honor to represent the US. Like that's one of my huge goals, just to represent the US in like a world championship race. So
Yeah, you'll get there. Okay, so what are you doing now? What is life now?
So I'm on a little downtime break, just kind of running as I feel, which is really fun. So there's some days I'm like, well, I feel like running today, and today I don't feel like running today, you know? So we're kind of just taking it like day by day, and then we'll start getting a little bit more intentional. Probably this will be kind of like the last week of that. And then next week we'll start getting in and do some light pickups, and then maybe start working out in a couple weeks. But we you know, we're respecting the recovery. Marathons take a lot out of you, and then we'll start building up. You know, I want to make the world championship team for this summer, and they already selected the marathon team, so I gotta go for that 10K, 5K. So I'll be working on some speed, and we'll see if I can get on the track.
Are you excited to shift your focus to shorter distances for a little bit?
Yeah, I am. Especially because like in the marathon, what got me through is because it hurt so much. I like seriously made a deal with myself that I'm never going to do a marathon again, which I've already like reneged that. I think at the time my mind aren't like like, okay, this is kind of a fake promise, but it will be really fun to change that up because marathons are really long races. And I mean, 5Ks and 10Ks, like they hurt a lot more. They're way more, but it's just a different kind. I think they play off well for each other. But yeah, I'm excited to do a race that doesn't take over 2 hours.
Keira, I listen, this is an honor. I know that you have had 900 million interview requests since this. So the fact that you've spent time with me, I truly appreciate it so much.
Oh, you know, I love you, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. This is really fun. I like this format. This is cool. I like seeing all like the little comments and everything. I think that most of the people in the chat are related to me. So thank you, family. And if you're not related to me, extra virtual high five and hug for being here. This is awesome.
Kira's family, I just need everybody to know they are incredible. I've never met anybody in person, but when we did our Fun Friday episode, like 9 family members sent in hilarious questions. I got video recordings of your daughter that I think your mother-in-law sent. Like, Team D'Amato not only shows up at races, they show up on podcasts too.
We're there, man. We just like a party, you know, like invite us anywhere and we're there. We're kind of like yes people. So just give us the opportunity. And
that's what I'm saying. I told you this before. I want to party crash one of your like family Christmases. I feel like you could just show up and everybody would be like, hey, what's up? Come on in.
Yeah, that's it. I see someone said they want to be related. Well, we are accepting applications. Pretty much we accept all applications if you're a nice person. So welcome. I'll have to put something up on my website, a little application form to join the family. But thank you. That's very nice.
Well, Keira, thanks for doing this. We are all cheering for you, following your journey, and cannot wait to see what you do next.
Let's see, man. It's going to be a roller coaster for sure. But yeah, we got this. Thanks for having me, Lindsay. This is really fun chatting.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Keira.